Welcome in to The Real Matrix. It's the Angry Patriot. We're into our second show and want to maybe go over what we did in the first show, set this up if you haven't seen it. The movie The Matrix, really all about control. People really weren't in control of their lives. It was really just a dream world where it was a computer-generated world where people just went about and enjoyed the computer-generated life. And what I'm seeing in this reality that we have now in America and in the world is it is being controlled by upper-level, super rich, super wealthy control freaks, maniacs that want to take away our freedoms, actually want to kill us. They want to depopulate. We went over that in the first show. One of their keys is to depopulate. They think there's too many of us on the earth. And the only way to do that is to be in charge, be in control, and to come up with a one world government that is basically communism on steroids. It's socialism on steroids. It's, you know, if you disagree with the current political landscape in America, whenever you're listening to this, whenever that'll be, whether you're a Republican and don't like the Democrats, or Democrat, you don't like the Republicans, you at least have a choice. At least in the future, hopefully your vote will count. You can bring in a new regime, and you have an option. You have a choice. You have a voice for your future. One world government. There's no other options. And one world government means there's no other option in any other country. You know, if there's communism in Russia or other countries, okay, we're here, we're fine. There's other countries that aren't led by communism and socialism. But once it's a one world government, there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to hide. And that's what they want to bring in. So the comparisons of the Matrix, we're kind of living in that real Matrix. And we showed you in the beginning, show lunatics that just have more money than God, and they want to rule and control the world. And I've talked to people about that in the last 5 years. And what people don't understand, they say, well, these rich people, they have so much money. Why do they care what we're doing? And if you don't realize people who want power, they want control, they're not going to let us dictate to them how society is run, how the world is run. They want to dictate to us. And there's very few of them. I mean, very, very few of them. We outnumber them 99.99% to their, 100th or 1,000th, 1,000,000th of the human population. But they have the money, and they're pushing for their way. No way would we allow this to go on if we had a voice, or if we were aware of what they're doing. So be aware. These super wealthy elite, they're really a fraction of the 1%. Going over the first show, they control our financial system. They're the bankers they're the people behind our federal bank. Again, remember, our federal bank isn't run by us, isn't run by America, isn't run by the American government. That's a separate bank, separate from our government, that controls our money supply. And and how does this make sense? The fact that when we talk about, if you hear on the news, most of our money is going toward paying our interest rate. Why would we be paying an interest rate to a bunch of bankers when we should control our currency? With our taxes, if we need problem, we raise taxes to be able to do away with any debt we have. But we're running up debt with the bankers, and that's what they want. That's how they gain control with power, to put us in a deficit. And how easy is it to do? Well, if you have corrupt, illegal, anti-American traitors in our government, they're going to push all this spending, all this frivolous spending on nothing that then puts us in a hole. They make more money. We have problems catching up and actually helping us, real Americans, who need help. So, but these people, these are the rich, wealthy elite that are behind everything. And you say, well, how did they get there? So, and who are they about? And what? So let's get into that. I'm going to be showing clips from a video that you can see on Rumble. As a matter of fact, listen to me here. You'd probably be much better off just going to rumble.com and pulling up a video. It's called Monopoly: Who Owns the World? It's only about an hour long. And I'm going to be showing clips from this not only today, but in future shows. So you're going to be getting the best of the best. But you can watch the whole thing for yourself there and get the point of what we're up against, what's going on. Because when we think free trade, we think of our market, that the powers, it's controlled. It's not controlled. It's when you like something, you pay for that. The person has cheaper goods, bill of goods, or better service, you go there. And there's competition. And competition makes businesses work better for us. If there are 5 restaurants within a mile of your house and they all kind of serve the same things, but they are not connected to each other, they're going to compete to give you better prices and better service and better quality, so you come to them. So it's better for us as a society that we have competition. But when you don't have, if you only had one restaurant and you couldn't get your food from anywhere else, they're pretty much going to be able to charge what they want, give you what you want, give you what they want. If you're not happy with it, they don't care. So we lose as a society, we lose as a consumer. So the fact is, competition is great. Monopolies, where there is less competition, is terrible for us. Terrible. And that's what that video and documentary is all about. The fact that there's a monopoly all throughout the world that is run by these investment firms, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, we're going to go on and over with them, that, the investor, the largest investor of a company, they make the rules, they have the control. All of these investment firms own all of these companies, and they don't care if you buy from one place or the other place or the other place. They own everything. So again, they dictate the price. If you haven't been watching, if you didn't shop at grocery stores in the last 5 years, the prices in our grocery stores have gone up tremendously. Not just eggs. And they have artificially made eggs a very difficult product to get. They're killing chickens left and right. And we'll get into that in later shows. But but everything across the board went up about 25% or more. Everything. Juices, milk, condiments, toilet paper, paper products, everything, canned vegetables, everything in the stores went up. And it really doesn't make sense because during COVID, they said it was logistic issues. But really, if there's logistic issues, there should be a backlog of products that haven't got to us. And now, because, again, bigger supply, less demand, prices should go down. Went the opposite. And it keeps going the opposite way. Because these maniacs that run all these companies are just raising prices for them to make more money and make sure we save less so that we can't enjoy life. We don't have the comforts of enjoying life with food and etc. And then they want to basically make people starve so that they look to the government and say, government, please help us. We can't survive with the cost of rents going way up, cost of food going way up, cost of utilities going way up, and labor costs. I mean, your salaries aren't going up. They're not going to pay you more because, again, there's less small businesses to offer jobs out there. If you go to these large corporations to get a job, again, they have a monopoly. They don't have to pay you more money to if you say I'm going to go somewhere else. What option do you have? They own the other company. They don't care, and they want to do away with workers as it is with AI. AI is going to be doing a lot of the work of what people used to do. There's going to be less jobs available. You're not going to be able to have the money to survive. And that's what they want. They want chaos so that they can bring in a one world government. But it all starts really with these investment firms, monopolies, and the super, super rich that run the world. So we're going to start playing clips from Monopoly. First clip, just as a good setup.
How does it work? Let's take as an example a company like PepsiCo, which is the parent company of many of the most popular soft drinks and snacks in the world. There appear to be many different competing brands, but they all come from the factories of a small number of corporations that together have a monopoly on the industry. Within the packaged food industry, there are a number of other major companies, such as Unilever, the Coca-Cola Company, Mondelez, and Nestlé. On this image, you see that virtually every well-known brand in the packaged food industry belongs to one of these corporations. You can easily get this kind of information. You can verify it on the websites of the relevant brands or on Wikipedia. Companies of this size are usually publicly traded and have a board where the largest shareholders call the shots.
For those who couldn't see that are listening in a podcast, there's Coke, there's Kellogg's, there's Nestle's, he said Mondelez. There's a number of General Mills, all of these companies that own all of these snack products, food products, soda, beverage products that we all eat. Most of everything that we eat and consume in at your grocery store comes from these small number of companies. And what he's showing is, and what he's going to show here, he's going to make a comparison in regards to Pepsi and Coke is same owners, doesn't matter. Costs are the same. Play the next clip.
Websites like Yahoo Finance, we can find detailed company information, including who the largest shareholders of these companies are. Let's take PepsiCo again as an example. We see that 73.14% of the shares are held by no less than 3,379 institutional investors. These include investment companies, mutual funds, insurance companies, banks, and in some cases, governments. Let's look at who the largest institutional investors of PepsiCo are. As you can see, just 10 out of the 3,379 investors account for almost 1/3 of all shares. The combined share capital of these top 10 has a value of approximately $60 billion. But of those 10 investors, 3 own more shares than the remaining 7. Let's remember their names and let's see who owns the most shares at the Coca-Cola Company, Pepsi's big competitor. We see that just like with PepsiCo, the majority of the shares are held by institutional investors. Let's look at the top 10 and start with the last one of them. 4 out of these 6 institutional investors we also saw at the last 6 of PepsiCo. These are Norton Trust, JP Morgan Chase, Geode Capital Management, and Wellington Management. Now, let's look at the 4 largest shareholders. 3 of these we also saw in the top 4 at PepsiCo. They are BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. And there's another one, Berkshire Hathaway. These are the 4 largest investment companies on the planet. PepsiCo and Coca-Cola are anything but competitors. But also the other big companies that own many brands, such as Unilever, Mondelez, and Nestlé, are owned by the same small group of institutional investors. And you don't only find these names in the packaged food industry.
So, if you're listening to the podcast, you can really hear who the organizations were. You did later in the clip, and it's Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street. Those are the 3 largest ones. They really are. They've infiltrated everything. And what he's saying there is the largest investors who own 30% of the company and a value of $60 million. And they are all interconnected. I think we're going to get to the point that they're all interconnected the next clip or 2. But they're all interconnected. They basically own stocks in each other. So not only do you own that, they basically are pushing one voice. And if you argue that point, forget it. They can threaten to take the money away from the company and invest it elsewhere, and the company would be at their mercy. So Pepsi and Coke basically have the same owners. And the crazy thing in regards to what's gone on here so far in our grocery stores, I used to be able to get a sale on 12 packs of soda, 4 for $10. And now I think it's maybe $10 for a 12 pack. I mean, the prices have gone through the roof. Why? Because they have a monopoly. These investment firms who run these snack companies, that run these beverage companies, there's very few options outside of what they have. I don't know of any options. They have everything. So they can charge anything they like. You as a consumer, as an American, should be as scared of that as anything you can imagine. Because if they want to put a shortage together, they can put a shortage together and raise the price even more. Or, as I said, these maniacs that want to kill us, they can have a shortage on food, and then you're not going to be able to get food. And once food becomes scarce, this world will become an absolute mess. So let's continue on and play the clips in regards to these maniacs and how they own everything.
Facebook owns WhatsApp and Instagram. Together with Twitter, they form the most popular social media platforms in the world. Alphabet is the parent company of all Google businesses, including YouTube and Gmail, but they are also the biggest sponsors and developers of Android, one of the 2 operating systems on which almost all smartphones and tablets in the world run. The other operating system is Apple's iOS. Finally, if we add Microsoft to the other 3, we see that 4 companies produce the software that almost all computers, tablets and smartphones in the world depend on. Let's see who owns the most shares of these powerful companies. If we look at Facebook, we see that more than 80% of the shares are owned by institutional investors. These are the same names we saw in the food industry. Again, the same investors at the top. Then Twitter, which with Facebook and Instagram makes up the top 3. Amazingly, we see that the company is also owned by the same investors. We see them at Apple, but also with their big competitor Microsoft. When we look at all the other companies that dominate the technology industry and build our computers, TVs, smartphones, and household appliances, we see the same big investors who own a majority of the shares. We see this within all industries around the world. And just to show you that I'm not exaggerating, I'll give you another example. Let's say we want to plan a vacation. On our computer or smartphone, we look for a cheap flight to the sun through websites like Skyscanner and Expedia, both of which belong to the same group of institutional investors. We fly with one of the many airlines of which the majority of the shares are often owned by the same investors or by governments, like Air France-KLM. The aircraft we fly is in most cases a Boeing or an Airbus. Again, we see the same names. We look for a hotel or an apartment through Booking.com or Airbnb.com. Once we arrive at our destination, we go out for dinner, then we write a review on TripAdvisor. The same investors are at the basis of every aspect of our journey, and their power goes even much further, because even the kerosene that fuels the plane comes from one of their many oil companies and refineries. Just like the steel that the plane is made of comes from one of their many mining companies. This small club of investment companies, banks and mutual funds are also the largest shareholders in the primary industries, where our raw materials come from. If we look on Wikipedia for the largest mining companies in the world, we see that their shareholders are the same institutional investors we see everywhere else. The same goes for the largest agricultural companies in the world that our entire food industry depends on. For example, they own Bayer, the parent company of Monsanto, the world's largest seed producer, which produces 90% of all the cotton seed on Earth, as well as the majority of all other seeds. But these institutional investors are also the shareholders of the largest textile manufacturing companies in the world, and even the numerous popular clothing brands that turn the cotton into the clothes we wear are owned by the same group of investors. Whether we have the world's largest solar panel producers or the largest oil refineries, the shares are managed by the same companies. They own the tobacco companies, who produce all the popular tobacco brands in the world. But they also own all the major companies in the pharmaceutical industry and the scientific institutes that produce the drugs. They own the companies that produce our metals and raw materials, and the entire automobile, aircraft, and arms industry where those metals and raw materials are processed. They own the companies that build our electronics. They own the big department stores and online marketplaces. And even the payment methods that we use to pay for their products.
Now, one of the things that's incorrect in that is this was a video done before Elon Musk bought Twitter. So early on, it talks about who owned Twitter, and that's why when Musk bought Twitter, there was such an uproar, because it's these maniacs that own the media that said we can't have him worming his way into our way that we control the message. And they were all owned by, or most of the stock owners were owned by BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. That was Twitter. And Musk overpaid for it, bought it, and now at least you have one source that you can actually speak freely on. Now, you can also speak ignorantly or stupidly, And there's a bunch of lunatics on Twitter, and there might be misinformation there from people who are bad actors that want to try to confuse you and give you misinformation. But you as a person can weed through that. And you as a person has a voice that you can make your say-so there and make your tweets along with other people that have kind of the same thought process, same feeling. There is a way that you can actually feel like, hey, I'm not alone on an island out here. Because that's what they made you feel like during COVID when you said, hey, I don't want to get a vaccine. Why I got to get a vaccine or I'm going to get fired? That doesn't make any sense. I don't want to do that. Yet they pushed that. They did that. And because there was no way to get that message out until Musk bought it. That broke up the monopoly for them in regards to the message. So there is, and it was crucial. And I know there's people out there right now that don't like Musk, that hate Musk, but you're missing the big picture. I can't sit here and I can't tell you, do I trust him doing this, that, or the other thing? I don't know. I have no idea. But opening up Twitter and opening up to have free speech and not be censored, that was one of the most crucial things that's happened in our recent memory. It might end up in our lifetime. To break up these monopolies by these lunatics and maniacs who are trying to censor us and push this control agenda, this one world government, this new world order agenda, because they own everything. The Twitter purchase by Elon Musk was really, really unbelievable. But as you saw, they run everything, they own everything. And in the second half hour, we'll continue to talk about not only these maniacs who have been doing it for years and years and years, but how they control the media, how they control the message. It is dastardly. So again, we're here to red pill you. We're here to give you information. We're here to give you the truth if you want to hear it. So stay tuned. We're going to take a break. And on the other side, we'll talk more about the real Matrix.
Want to make your love life sizzle like Phoenix summer? Summit Male Medical guarantees to help you with ED or premature issues, or we won't charge you. We've helped tens of thousands of patients here in the Valley since 2008. Please compare our most experienced medical staff and low-price treatments to anybody. If you've talked to the rest, it's time to come to the best. Put the sizzle back in your love life. 480-398-1000 or go to summitmalemedical.com. Summit Medical, love for life.